cannot tell you how excited I am to be here. This is wonderful. So many friends and new friends that I'm going to meet today. So first of all, I want to start off by asking how many of you have been to the old state capitol? Oh, good. Okay, how many were there for a field trip? Okay. How many for a wedding or event? How many have not been there? We got to work on that. Yeah. So it's a fabulous place, and it's my great privilege to work there. I'm thrilled that Kevin Harris is in the audience today, so if I get anything wrong, Kevin can correct me. So our story really starts with the Louisiana Purchase. The United States wanted land, and France wanted money. But the whole point of the Louisiana Purchase was to get New Orleans, to get the mouth of the river and the mighty river that goes up from that. Okay, let's see if I can make this work. Oh my God, it worked. Let the land rejoice, for you have bought Louisiana for a song. Yes, it was a song. It was one of the great land deals of our time, as you remember from your Louisiana history. So New Orleans is the first capital of Louisiana. And they had several different buildings that served as the capital, but they never really built a capital building. And there was a lot of concern at that time that New Orleans was the financial capital, the banks were all there. It was the commercial capital, you know, the port was there. Should it really be the political capital as well? Was that too much power in one place? So that was one consideration. The other consideration was that a lot of the legislators were spending their days taking care of their business, dealing, you know, shipping sugarcane and cotton out of the ports, dealing with the banks. And what do you do at night in New Orleans, my dearest friends? Yes, indeed. They were having a really good time, and a lot of work was not getting done. So consequently, in 1825, the legislature decides, okay, maybe we need to move away from the Big Easy. And so they moved to Donaldsonville. Yeah, that lasted a year. So they go back to New Orleans, but people being what people are, they fell back into the same bad habits. So in 1845, there's a constitutional amendment passed that says that the capital shall be 60 miles from New Orleans. And what is 60 miles from New Orleans? Thank you. Yes, indeed. So the call goes out to design a new Capitol building. And James Dakin is one of the people who answers that call. And he was a well-known architect, and he submitted this little sketch that looks a lot like a castle. And he said he wanted the building to have a distinctive, classic, and commanding character. And he especially did not want it to look like the national capitol. You know, so many of the state capitals do with the dome and the wings that go out. Castellated Gothic is the term that they use to describe this kind of architecture. And so he was chosen for the project, which he projected was going to cost $100,000. Well, it was about 4 times that much. But you know, what do you know? So we're very fortunate that Mr. Dakin kept an incredibly detailed diary. Like you can read how many feet of board he bought, and how many nails, and how many pieces of iron. And it is just, it's an amazing thing, and I'm so glad that we have it. He was often frustrated by the quality of products, as will happen sometimes. And so he wrote this to one of them. It gives me much pain and mortification to be obliged to think of you in the light that I do. But I cannot help condemning you as men of business so far as my experience is concerned. Whew, that was strong, wasn't it? Getting quality bricks was another problem when they started to build the building, because it's brick, the exterior of our building and the interior, it's brick with a plaster overlay. So getting quality bricks was a big problem. And Mr. Dakin complained to the contractor, and one day he actually goes to the building site, and he is literally pulling the bricks off of the building. And he and the contractor get into a fight. The mayor fines them both $3, but he fined Dakin an additional $10 because he threw the first punch. There you go. So The building opens in 1849, at the very end of 1849, but there's no big grand celebration because there'd been a fire downtown that had decimated part of the downtown area. So they took the money that would have been used for the grand opening and gave it to the victims of the fire, as one would hope that they would do. So this is what the building looks like when the legislature starts to settle in. And there was some grumbling about, being in Baton Rouge, that there weren't the same amenities that there were in New Orleans. What were we going to do? Well, there are some interesting tidbits about that. We found records that showed there was a tank above the house chamber that contained an elixir, which could have been liquor, could have been wine, we don't know. But it was paid for out of the candle account, which makes you know that it was something it probably shouldn't have been. Peace reigns in the kingdom until we get to the 1860s, and Louisiana, like the rest of the country, is embroiled in the discussion over slavery. And so it is in the House chamber where you can visit this very day, where we voted to secede from the Union. It was not an easy or quick decision, and it was a very divided one. The large landowners and plantation owners of South Louisiana were in favor of it. The small rural farmers from North Louisiana were not. So that's in January of 1861, and in 1862, the United States forces arrived. So we were not Confederates for very long. The Union forces were camped all over town, and they even had a garrison that was stationed at the old state capitol. While they were in the building, camped, a fire broke out. We believe that they were cooking. The newspaper accounts say that they actually tried to put the fire out, but it was up into the walls and they couldn't extinguish it. So it gutted the interior of the building. But those huge walls that I talk about that are brick and plaster, those stood. So the people in New Orleans are really happy because they think they're going to get the Capitol back. They were really happy. But there were a group of Baton Rougians and Mayor Leon Jastrzemski. Does that sound like a Baton Rouge name? Leon Jastrzemski, he was a general, I believe, in the Confederate Army, and he owned a newspaper, and he campaigned to get the Capitol back to Baton Rouge. He was determined. And sure enough, they decided to move the Capitol back. They choose the second architect. They probably would have gone back with Mr. Dakin, but he had passed away by that time. So this is William Ferret. And so William Ferret comes up with this design. He basically builds on what Dakin has done. So the walls still stood, so there's no reason to fix that, but they wanted to go up a floor. And one of the complaints about the building before had been how dark it was, that there wasn't enough light. And so, as I tell everybody, this was like any good home improvement project. Okay, let's see if I can make this work. Oh my God, it does work. They got carried away and they added the towers and the turrets. But the one thing they got completely right is this big square piece in the back, and that is the lantern. That's what sits over the stained glass window and protects it. So the building opens in 1882. Look at that fine group of men who were the legislators that assembled there. Some of them didn't want to face the camera. I don't know what that's about. But, and it was right downtown, right there where it is now, across from the railroad station. It was very much the hub of the city. And this is the stained glass dome. So for whatever Mark Twain said about the building, which when it had the towers and turrets, that's when he said it was a shame that dynamite didn't finish what a charitable fire began. Whatever they got wrong, they got this right. It is our signature piece. It's interesting to me that it's not original to the building. We get lots of questions about what's original to the building. The walls, that's what's original to the building. And there were many, many different iterations of what was on the lawn. There were gazebos. There was a little, stone neoclassic building that was kind of off to one side that we never quite could figure out what it was, but we think it was an outhouse because they didn't have plumbing. There were animals on the yard. At one point, there was a pet deer. There were a couple of different iterations of a pond. There was a pond before the Civil War, and so when the war came, people came to the old state capitol and put their valuables in the pond, thinking that would protect them from being seized by the Union forces. So later, after the war, maybe in the late 1800s, they decided to drain the pond and put in what the Clampetts would call a cement pond. And so when they drain the pond, they find a gun, a sword, a silver service, a big ring with women's jewelry on it. I still want to know where that went. And a skeleton. So, the kids ask me all the time when I tell that story, did they do DNA? No, they did not do DNA testing at that time. So other things that were on the yard from different points in time, at one point they decided it'd be fun to show experimental crops. There was corn and there was cotton grown on the yard. I mean, they did everything, let me just say. And life is pretty good until the kingfish arrives. Huey Long hated our building before it was built. I mean, before he became governor. He thought it was a sham castle and not worthy of the state of Louisiana. And he liked bright, new, shiny things, basically. And a lot of people want to say that he hated our building because he was impeached there. He was never tried. Remember, the senators said, oh, no, we're not going to convict you no matter what it says, so you're okay. But the truth of the matter is he just hated the building. Now, is it true that he sat people under leaks and things to try to get them to fund the new building? Probably so. There were a lot of things that went on in the building at that time. I know you've all seen it now, and it's beautiful, and it's elegant, and it's quiet, and that is not what it was like at the time at all. There were spittoons on the floor, and people chewing tobacco, and spitting, and smoking, and cursing, and fist fights. Real fist fights broke out. So Huey does get his wish. He decides to build the new state capitol, and by then he moves on and he's a senator. And as you all know, we had the 90th anniversary of his death and Dr. Carl Weiss's earlier this month. And it's ironic to me that the building that he was so intent on and the building that he built became his tombstone. So after we're no longer the Capitol, the old state Capitol just kind of becomes an office building. There are different offices there. The Veterans Affairs folks were there. Have any of you guys ever heard of the Foxhole? Nobody? Okay. You have? Thank you, Bill. Yeah, there was a club downstairs for the veterans, and I, strongly suspect there was some card dealing and maybe some drinking that went on. I don't know. But and then we move into the later years. In the 1960s, I know many of you know about the Baton Rouge bus boycott, which was the example. It was the precursor to the Selma bus boycott. We were the test case. We did it here first in Baton Rouge. And the old state capitol was the gathering place every morning for the people who were boycotting the bus system but needed a ride to work. And so individuals would come and pick them up in their cars and take them to work. So we've witnessed a lot of history at our property. And then the 1970s and 80s, piecemeal repairs are getting done, an HVAC system gets replaced here, some plaster gets fixed there, a window, or whatever. But nobody is really taking care of the entire building. So in the 1990s, a group of citizens, and I'm going to stop here in a point of personal privilege, and when you try to name people, you're always going to leave somebody out. But there are so many people who are responsible for the resurrection of this building. Winnie Bird, Lois Bannon, Betty Schwartzberg, Alan Barres, Mike Baer, Brian Kendrick, Bob Courtney, Fox McKithen chief among them, because Fox was the one who was willing to say, I'm going to take this on. And it was a fight. Kevin Harris still has knife wounds in his back from the discussions that we had at the legislature. I mean, they called us everything but a child of God, I promise. It was rough. It was really rough. But the building ultimately gets moved to the Secretary of State, and under Governor Buddy Roemer, $6 million was appropriated to renovate the building. And so renovate we did. On the left there is a picture of a cistern that was in the basement that we found when we started excavating. And of course, people were just excavating away, and we found a bone. Well, we had to stop, and we called Mary Mannheim at LSU for her to come and tell us that it was, probably a dog or something. It wasn't a human, so it didn't hold up the progress. But still, every time you made a discovery like that, you had to stop what you were doing, go find out what it is, that sort of thing. We literally did everything from top to bottom. The left-hand picture there is the labyrinth of scaffolding that went all the way from the second floor to the top of the dome, because you had to be able to reach every single piece of it. I don't think there was anything in the building that wasn't touched. And the biggest change in the building was the installation of good heating and air conditioning, because humidity and water are the enemy when you have plaster walls. That's why we had such a problem with mold and mildew before. And so lots of things had to be cut up differently to allow the air handlers to be installed. Sadly, because of the rotunda, the third and fourth floors are not connected horizontally, they're connected vertically. So the fire marshal, in his wisdom, said we had to have 2 sets of fire stairs. And we argued hard. No, we really don't need 2 sets. We lost, 20% of the building? Yeah, to that. So, but you do what you have to do. On the right-hand side, this is one of the artisans. We brought people in from everywhere to work on this building. People from Belgium came in to help with some of the gold leafing. And this is the building today. So when you go to the rotunda, please go up to those green arches that you see. Those are all cast iron. You can walk up to them and see the bolts in the metal. Now, just stop and think about that for a second. This is 1882. This is men and ropes and pulleys and a lot of sweat. Like, I can't even imagine how they did it, but it fits perfectly, and we couldn't do it today on a bed, I promise. On the right-hand top side of the picture there is one of our exhibits. That's one of my favorites. It's about Huey Long, and on one side of the exhibit, we talk about all the great things he did. Roads, bridges, free textbooks for children, charity hospital system. And on the other side, well, we talk about how he forced people to give him money, and he kind of broke the law, and he might have had somebody kidnapped once. And so we play lots of games in our building, and so one of the things we do is we get the kids in there and we have them fan out, and we say, read both sides, and then come back and tell me whether you would have voted for Huey Long or not. It's a very interesting exercise. We do a lot with kids, as you might imagine. We have tons of field trips. The top photo there is of the youth legislature. This is a program we host every year. It's about 2,000 kids that come through for 2 days at a time. They work in their schools writing legislation. And y'all, the things these kids think of, it blows me away. I mean, really, they are very smart. And then they come there and debate the bills. And it's just fascinating to me. We'll have a young bride come in who wants to schedule her wedding or whatever, and she'll say, I was in youth legislature. I mean, they remember it. It's impactful to them. We also have traveling exhibits that come through at least 3 or 4 times a year. We're about to open an exhibit on Vietnam, and it's artwork from combat artists during the Vietnam era. On the right is a beautiful dress. We partnered with the LSU fashion design department to have them showcase different elements of the building in fashion. And then there's our beautiful rotunda and the stained glass. The thing I love most about our building and about history is that there are just so many stories that we haven't told, and so many stories that they're still yet to be told. We're going to be opening an exhibit next year, and this is the one that Brian heard me talk about. It's about Reconstruction. I really didn't learn much about Reconstruction. Like, the Civil War just ended and that was that. Well, as it turns out, Louisiana was very important in Reconstruction. We were sort of looked at as maybe a model of what Reconstruction could be. We had an integrated legislature. They had started down a path to provide education for black and white children, not together, Lord no, but black and white children, and to offer the right to vote to some black men. Abraham Lincoln spoke about that in his last address from the White House. And John Wilkes Booth was in the audience. And he heard that story, heard him talk about Louisiana. And 3 days later, President Lincoln is dead. So from our rebellion at the beginning of the Civil War to our Reconstruction, Louisiana really had a larger role in the nation's history than people realize. So every day we find out something different, every single day. We see about 50,000 visitors annually. I tell everybody working at the front desk is like working at the UN. Like, one day somebody will come in from Poland or Botswana or, you know, Brazil. Liechtenstein was the one that stumped us all. We had to go look up how to spell it because we didn't know. France and Canada obviously are our two largest group of international tourists. But we see people from everywhere, 80 countries, and they come here. So it's a fascinating place to be. We love it. Please, please, please come. If you have a Sunday school group, a book club, a garden club, just a bunch of friends who want to get together and come, we are open and we are free. We're open Tuesday through Friday from 10 to 4, Saturdays from 9 to 3, but always check the website because we might close early for a wedding. We're open the first Sunday of the month. All of our programming is free, and we're very proud of what we do. Our mission is to educate the public about our rich political history and to inspire engaged citizenship. And that is a mission that I am proud to live every day. One of the things that and I'm going to something that a student wrote as part of National History Day now. He said that studying history taught him how to think, how to listen, and how to recognize the quiet moments when the future is asking you to respond. So maybe the real question that history asks isn't what happened, but what would you do if it happened again? Please come and visit us, and let's ask some questions together. Thank you so much. Oh, and if anybody wants a great book about the old state capitol, Carol Haas has written a fabulous book. It's not huge, very readable, has all the good scoop in it, as we say.
If you have a question, just raise your hand. We'll bring a microphone to you.
Mary, could you count on how many events are held there that people, rent out the chamber, like the LPD gala and weddings and whatever? How many in a year's time or whatever?
Oh, we're probably booked 40 weekends out of the year. Like, we don't advertise for wedding business because we have enough. I wish we didn't need the money.
Can you tell us some of the most famous speakers who have been there?
Oh, most famous speakers. Oh, gosh. Oh, Kevin, can you help me? Well, I mean, John Bro's been there. Al Gore was there. I mean, we've had a lot of, when we did the, the gala to commemorate the Louisiana Purchase. I mean, we had diplomats from France who came, and Lindy Boggs, and, we're really blessed that we partner with LPB every year for the Louisiana Legends Gala, which I know a lot of y'all are familiar with. And so we meet a lot of famous sons and daughters of Louisiana at that event. Yes?
Right here in the middle.
Can you tell about some of the movies that the state capitol?
Oh, some of the movies. The Toy was filmed there. The Hangover, which I have not seen. National Treasure was recently. That was the most recent one, and that was really interesting because they came in and they built like a Masonic temple kind of thing inside the old state capitol, And the only thing you could tell that was part of our building was the stained glass. That was it. And I was like, you could have just faked that or something, But anyway, yeah. But we're often sought out for movie shoots. Yeah.
Whatever happened to the red telephone pole on the north side of the building?
Ooh, I don't know about the red telephone pole on the north side of the building. Somebody asked earlier, a gentleman, about the box car. The box car is on our property. It's kind of tucked in the corner right there next to Town Square. That was a gift from France after World War II. Every state in the country received a box car from France to thank the ordinary people of the United States for what they did for French people during the war. And so it's a 40 and 8 car, which means it will hold 40 men or 8 horses. So, and it was full of gifts, and if any of you know what happened to those gifts, we'd really like to know, because we don't know what happened. We know there was a wedding dress that maybe went to Opelousas, but there was a marble bust of Napoleon or somebody. Like, all that stuff just went, and we have no idea where it is. So we're always looking for things. Yes, somebody else? Linda?
I was gonna ask when the fence was installed.
The fence is just as historic as the building. It was installed in the 1850s. We don't really know who the architect is, but it's likely that it was Dakin. And the fascinating thing to me about the fence, and I don't have a picture of it, is that except for the large posts that are screwed into the metal base, everything just sits on top. Each piece sits on top of another one like a Lego set. So if you take the big magnolia pod off, then a rail comes off. Then the upright members come off. Then the bottom piece comes out. So we have had the fence damaged a couple of times, and when you have to take the thing apart, that's what you have to do, is you have to take it apart one piece at a time and go get it recast. It was redone, I want to say in 2008 or 9. It was under Kathleen Blanco's administration that the building was refurbished, and sadly, it needs some more tender loving care. Right now, the paint is, the finish on the paint is oxidized, so it looks bad, but it's really just a paint issue.
Got a question over here.
Oh, sorry.
Can you tell me if the color scheme is the original color scheme? That green and orange?
The color scheme goes back to the 1880s, because we can find good records on that. We don't, I mean, as much as Mr. Dakin left us, he didn't write a lot about paint. And it's a Sherwin-Williams paint, believe it or not, that they still make. And that was one of the pieces. There was so much research done during the restoration of the building, and so one of the things they did was literally scrape down the walls to get down to a layer of paint that they thought was representative from that period. Yeah.
I think there was one more back there.
Yeah.
Go ahead and shout it out.
If anyone died in the 1882,
I assume fire.
oh,
Reconstruct.
Oh, in the reconstruction? No, I don't know. We get, like I say, we get lots of questions about whether or not, the place is haunted. Like I say, there was a skeleton found in the pond, and, there were soldiers there, so I don't know. But no, to the best of my knowledge, no one was injured or died during the reconstruction. And one other question that we get occasionally is whether or not the building was built with slave labor, and the answer is no, it was convicts. Although there are a couple of receipts where the contractor paid a plantation owner for the use of a crew of slaves to come over and help in one particular part of the construction, but for the most part, it was built by convicts. Y'all have been great.
Any other questions?
Thank you.